the first time I saw Ethan Caldwell again. He was nothing like the scrawny kid I used to torment in middle school. He stood at the edge of Willow Creek's annual fair. 6'2", broad-shouldered, with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes that sliced through me like I was the one who'd always been small. I froze, my cotton candy melting in my hand, as the boy I'd once called Freak stared back, colder than the autumn wind whipping through our sleepy Ohio town. Back then, I was the king of 8th grade, or so I thought. My name, Jake Harper, meant something at Willow Creek Middle School. I was the guy who could make or break you with a single word, and I chose to break Ethan. Why? Because he was quiet. Because he liked drawing instead of football. Because he blushed when I caught him staring at me in the cafeteria. I'd trip him in the halls, mock his sketchbooks, and laugh when he stammered. It wasn't personal, at least. That's what I told myself. It was just what kids like me did to kids like him. But deep down, I knew it was more. I hated how his shy smile made my chest tighten, how his soft voice lingered in my head long after I'd shoved him into a locker. Now, 10 years later, Ethan was back, and I was the one who felt small. He'd moved away after 8th grade, his family fleeing Willow Creek's whispers about their weird son. I hadn't thought about him in years, not until I saw his name on the guest list for the fair's art exhibition. Ethan Caldwell, award-winning illustrator, returning to showcase his work. I came to the fair out of curiosity, maybe arrogance, thinking I could laugh off the past. But the moment our eyes met, I knew I wasn't laughing. "Jake," he said, his voice low and steady, like he'd been practicing this moment. "Didn't expect to see you here." I swallowed, my throat dry. "Yeah. Well, heard you were back. Thought I'd check it out." His lips twitched. Not quite a smile. "Checking up on the kid you used to push around." The words hit like a punch. I wanted to say I'd changed, that I wasn't that cruel 13-year-old anymore. But the way his gaze pinned me down told me he wasn't buying it. Not yet. I mumbled something about his art being impressive and shuffled away, my face burning. That night, I lay awake, replaying every cruel word I'd ever thrown at him. Every shove, every laugh. Ethan had been my first crush, the one I'd buried under cruelty because I was too scared to face what it meant. The next morning, I found myself at the town's only coffee shop, nursing a black coffee and a bruised ego. Willow Creek hadn't changed much, same old brick buildings, same gossiping locals. But Ethan had. He walked in, all lean muscle and quiet confidence, ordering a latte like he owned the place. He didn't see me at first, which gave me a moment to study him. His dark hair fell just above his eyes, and he wore a black leather jacket that screamed, "I'm not your punching bag anymore." When he finally noticed me, he didn't flinch. He just walked over and slid into the seat across from me, still drinking coffee like it's punishment. He asked, nodding at my cup. I forced a laugh. "Some things don't change." "Some things do," he said, his tone sharp enough to cut. "You gonna pretend you don't remember what you did to me?" My stomach twisted. "I remember," I said quietly. "And I'm sorry, Ethan. I was a stupid kid." He leaned back, crossing his arms. "Stupid doesn't cover it. You made my life hell, Jake. You know that, right?" I nodded, unable to meet his eyes. "I know." I didn't know how to deal with I stopped, the words catching in my throat. How do you tell someone you bullied them because you were terrified of your own feelings? That every time you pushed them down, you were trying to push away the part of yourself you couldn't accept. Ethan didn't let me off the hook. Deal with what? He pressed, his voice softer now, but still demanding answers. I looked up, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of the old Ethan, the one who used to sketch wildflowers in the margins of his notebook, who'd blush when our hands brushed during science class. I liked you, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Back then, I didn't know what to do with it. So I hurt you instead. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eye surprise. Maybe. Or something deeper. He didn't say anything for a long moment. Just sipped his latte and stared out the window. Finally, he spoke. You don't get to just say sorry and expect it to fix everything. I know, I said. But I want to try. If you'll let me. He stood, leaving his coffee half finished. I'll think about it, he said, and walked out, leaving me with the ghost of his words and the weight of my own regret. Over the next few weeks, Ethan was everywhere. His art exhibition drew crowds, and I couldn't avoid him even if I wanted to. His paintings were raw, vivid scenes of a lonely boy in a small town, shadowed by faceless figures who laughed and pointed. I saw myself in those shadows, and it gutted me. I started showing up to his events. Not to talk, but to listen. To see the man he'd become. He was brilliant. Funny. Sharp-edged, but kind in a way I'd never been. And every time our eyes met, I felt that old pull. The one I'd tried to drown in cruelty all those years ago. One night, after his final showcase, I found him alone by the lake, sketching the moonlight on the water. I took a chance. Your art's incredible, I said, sitting beside him. It's like you're telling the truth in a way I never could. He didn't look at me, just kept sketching. Truth's all I've got, he said. You should try it sometime. I'm trying now, I said, my voice cracking. Ethan, I was wrong. I was scared and stupid. And I hurt you because I couldn't handle who I was. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know I see you now. And I'm so damn sorry. He stopped sketching, his hand still. When he finally looked at me, his eyes were softer, unguarded for the first time. You really mean that, don't you? I nodded, my heart pounding. More than anything. He didn't say anything else, but he didn't leave either. We sat there, the lake whispering between us, and for the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could start to make things right. Willow Creek's autumn deepened, the leaves turning crimson and gold, mirroring the fire in my chest every time I saw Ethan. I kept showing Uffus art talks, the library where he sketched, the diner where he'd linger with a coffee and a book. I wasn't stalking him. Not exactly. I just couldn't stay away. Each time, he'd give me a look half wary, half curious, like he was weighing whether I was worth trusting. I didn't blame him. I'd spent years building walls between us, and now I was clawing at them with bare hands, hoping for a crack. One evening, at the town's old bookstore, I found him flipping through a collection of poetry. I gathered my courage and approached. Didn't peg you for a poetry guy? I said, trying to sound casual. He glanced up, a faint smirk playing on his lips. There's a lot you don't know about me, Jake. Fair, I said, leaning against a shelf. But I want to. if you'll let me. He closed the book, his fingers lingering on the cover. Why now? After all this time. Why do you care? I took a breath, the words spilling out before I could stop them. Because I never stopped thinking about you. Not really. You were the one good thing in this town. And I ruined it. I don't want to be that guy anymore. He studied me, his green eyes searching mine. You're not who you were, he said finally. But that doesn't erase what you did. I know, I said. But I'm here. I'm trying. He nodded, almost imperceptibly, and handed me the book. Start with this, he said. Read it. Then maybe we'll talk. I read that book cover to cover that night. Every poem a window into Ethan's world love. Loss. Resilience. It was like reading his heart. And it broke me open. The next day, I found him at the lake again. And we talked. Not about the past. Not yet. But about the poems. About art. About the way the world felt too big and too small all at once. For the first time, I saw him smile, not the guarded smirk, but a real, unguarded smile that made my heart stutter. Our talks became a routine. Coffee shops, lakesides, late-night walks through Willow Creek's quiet streets. I learned Ethan had spent years in New York, clawing his way through art school, turning pain into beauty. He learned I'd stayed in town, working at my dad's hardware store, trapped by guilt and a life I didn't choose. We were different, but the pull between us was the same, electric and undeniable. One night, under a sky heavy with stars, I took a risk. We were sitting on a bench by the town square, the air crisp and alive. Ethan, I said, my voice unsteady. Do you ever think about what could have been? If I hadn't been such an idiot back then. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. Every day, he said quietly. But I don't live in what could have been. I live in what is. And what is this? I asked, gesturing between us. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached out, his fingers brushing mine. The touch was light, tentative, but it set my skin on fire. It's something, he said. I just don't know what yet. That something grew over the weeks. Stolen glances turned to lingering touches. Late-night talks to moments where we stood too close. The air thick with unspoken want. But Ethan kept his walls up, and I couldn't blame him. I'd hurt him too deeply. And trust wasn't something you could demand, it was something you earned. Then came the night that changed everything. Willow Creek's Winter Festival was in full swing. The town square alive with lights and music. Ethan was there, helping with the art booth, his laughter carrying over the crowd. I watched him, my heart aching with how much I wanted to be near him, to be someone he could rely on. But as I approached, I saw him tense, his eyes locking on a group of guys across the square-me old middle school crew, the ones who'd egged me on when I'd bullied him. One of them, Derek, spotted us and sauntered over, a smirk on his face. Well, look at this, he drawled. Harper and the freak. All cozy now. What's the deal? Jake. You slumming it. I felt Ethan stiffen beside me, and something in me snapped. Back off. Derek, I said, stepping forward. You don't get to talk to him like that. Derek laughed, but there was an edge to it. Oh, come on. Man. You used to say worse. The words were a knife, and I saw Ethan flinch. I turned to him, desperate. I'm not that guy anymore, I said, loud enough for Derek to hear. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Ethan, I'll spend the rest of my life proving it if I have to. Derek snorted, but Ethan's eyes were on me, searching, softening. You mean that? He said, not a question. I do, I said, my voice raw. I'm done hiding. The crowd around us faded, and for a moment, it was just us. Ethan stepped closer, his hand finding mine, and squeezed. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was a start. Winter settled over Willow Creek, blanketing the town in snow and silence. But the warmth between Ethan and me grew. That moment at the festival had shifted something. His walls didn't come down all at once, but they cracked, letting me glimpse the boy I'd once known and the man he'd become. We spent more time together, our conversations deepening, our touches lingering. I was falling for him, harder than I'd ever thought possible, and it scared me not because of what it meant, but because I didn't deserve him. One night, we ended up at his temporary studio, a rented loft above the bookstore. His paintings lined the walls, raw and vivid, each one a piece of his soul. I stood before Oni Boy standing alone in a storm, his face half hidden but unmistakably Ethan's. This is you, I said, my voice soft. Back then. He nodded, coming to stand beside me. It was hard, he said. You made it harder. I winced, but he touched my arm, his fingers gentle. But you're not that person anymore, he added. I see it. I feel it. I turned to him, my heart pounding. Ethan, I don't know how to fix what I did, but I love you. I think I always have. The words hung between us, heavy and true. His eyes widened, and for a moment, I thought he'd pull away. Instead, he stepped closer, his hand cupping my face. You're an idiot, he said, but his voice was warm, almost teasing. But you're my idiot. He kissed me then, soft and slow, like he was tasting the truth of my words. It was everything: forgiveness, hope, a future I'd never dared to dream of. We stayed there, wrapped in each other, the world outside forgotten. But Willow Creek wasn't done with us. The next day, word of our kiss spread like wildfire. Small towns don't forget, and they don't always forgive. My dad called me to the hardware store, his face grim. People are talking. Jake, he said. You sure about this? I looked him in the eye. No hesitation. I've never been surer of anything. He nodded, a slow, grudging respect in his eyes. Then you fight for it. And we did. Ethan's exhibition was ending, and he'd been offered a residency in Chicago. The thought of him leaving gutted me, but I wouldn't hold him back. Go, I told him one night, as we lay tangled in his loft. You're too big for this town. He propped himself up, his eyes fierce. I'm not leaving you behind. Jake, come with me. I laughed, thinking he was joking, but his expression was serious. Chicago's a fresh start, he said. For both of us. You're not tied to this place anymore. I thought about its store, my dad, the weight of my past. And then I thought about Ethan, about the life we could build. Okay, I said, my voice steady. Let's do it. We left Willow Creek in the spring, the town fading in the rearview mirror as we drove toward Chicago. The road ahead wasn't easy. There were still whispers, still doubts, still pieces of my past to atone for. But Ethan was beside me, his hand in mine, and that was enough. We weren't just running from something. We were running toward a life where love didn't have to hide, where redemption wasn't just a word but a promise we'd keep every day. In Chicago, Ethan's art flourished, and I found work as a carpenter, building things with my hands instead of tearing them down. We built a home together, not just a place, but a feeling one where we could be ourselves, unapologetically. Every night, as we lay together, I traced the lines of his face and thank whatever force brought him back to me. I'd been a bully, a coward, but I was learning to be something else, a man who loved fiercely, who fought for what mattered. And Ethan, he was my heart, my mirror, my reason to be better. Together, we were proof that even the deepest wounds could heal, that love could grow from regret, and that sometimes the hardest battles led to the most beautiful victories.